Hi, my name is Carrie Nelson.
My name's Sean Garza.
My name is Susan Mandler.
My name's Cody Porter.
And I'm Jordan Janik, and we are representing Insight. So our proposal to PSU and Fisher Communications is to host a walkathon that we will use to raise money for Insight's programs that will directly affect the disabled community.
Welcome to Portland, a city based on communities. Portland as a community is a place where you can see more bikes than cars. You can get a donut and get married at the same place, have a pillow fight at Pioneer Square, where social abnormality is encouraged. You can even see Star Trek in the park or go to a vegan strip club. But we wanted to see what the residents of Portland really thought a community is, so we went to the streets to get their opinions.
So can you give me your best definition of what a community is?
A community is a group, regardless of how large, that are interdependent on each other for a mutual interest.
A community is a collection of people working together towards a common goal.
So can you tell me how you contribute to the community?
I volunteer a lot for Portland Public Schools and the Oregon Convention Center, like 10 hours a week.
I do basic things like recycling. Other than that, I volunteer at a school. It's a preschool Head Start, and I work with them for reading literacy, and it's called Smart Start Making a Reader Today. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, a lot of ways. I do volunteer work at various charities. I'm involved in a program where convicted felons, when they are released from prison, they come and stay at my house for a couple weeks while they get back on their feet and try to figure out what the next step is for them.
So how do you think that people with disabilities contribute to the community?
Same way everybody else does. There's no, aside from whatever it is that they cannot do that obviously makes them disabled or qualifies them for disability, they do what they can just as everybody else does.
Well, I don't know, like, particularly, I mean, I assume people with disabilities, if they have, work ethic or education or just a desire to help the community can, but I don't know.
Well, they're no different than anybody else. They just have things that they need to overcome. And if there are things that hinder them, then they find other ways to contribute. But at the end of the day, I mean, like, I personally am diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, but you can't tell because I've worked my ass off to not be that and to not burden other people with it. I've overcome it, and I still do everything I can to contribute positively in whatever.
I don't think that there's any difference. I don't see that their disability is a factor. Like, specifically, I mean, I think they could do whatever I'm doing, whatever anyone else is doing.
When faced with the questions of how people with disabilities contribute to our community, people gave us mixed opinions. This is the biggest issue that us as Portland citizens face, is our view that there is a separate community of people with disabilities and people without disabilities. This way of thinking is what has made it so difficult for people with disabilities to contribute to our community with the same way that everyone else does. For those who are disabled, with this is a hindrance placed upon them, and it has affected every aspect of their everyday lives. In the United States, the disabled community is faced with an immeasurable amount of obstacles, from education to employment discrimination and self-sustainability. There is a colossal debt looming over the head of Congress that would force them to make large funding cuts, slashing more than $100 billion that would touch everything from special education to research and disability employment. Imagine millions of people, from children to adults, whose lives would be drastically changed for the worse by losing their education and job opportunities. After the completion of their K-12 education, the greatest struggle students with disabilities face is carrying on to higher education and fulfilling an independent lifestyle. They simply don't have the immediate resources to understand schooling beyond the basic K-12 education as others do. Currently, only 18% of people with a disability receive a college education. Many students who graduate high school need to know that there are many programs out there that provide information of the college experience for people with disabilities. They provide scholarships, help to assist college students in becoming independent contributors to their community, and much more. This is where Insight comes in.
What did they do?
So Insight was started almost 8-9 years ago. with a mission to see people with disabilities become contributing members of society. Statistically, people who have disabilities are less educated, and they have lower unemployment, and they have less family support, like less marriages, less children, so they're not able to be involved in society as much as what would be considered able-bodied people. My name is Dan Freese. I'm the Executive Director of Insight. So when you think of a nonprofit organization or like a government agency, you'll hear this word program. That's a kind of nonprofit way of saying the work that we actually do. It's called a program. So we have 4 programs: networking, independence, education, and employment. And what we do is have all sorts of services under each of those 4 main buckets. Under education, we do a scholarship. So we have about 100 scholars per year across the country. Most are in Oregon and Washington. And we help supplement their college education financial aid. We then also go and do outreach to high schools to encourage students with disabilities to consider going to some sort of post-secondary education. We also have partnerships with the colleges. With the employment, we work with job seekers, people with disabilities trying to find employment. And so we'll give them coaching, we give them resources such as like books on how to find their job better, on how to interview better. We then also work with businesses who are receptive to hiring people with disabilities, and we try and help the two meet each other. Here's the business, here's the job seeker, find each other in the middle. Independence, we try and do stuff to help people live a more independent lifestyle. So that includes like recreation and sports. So we do like a hand cycling series out at the International Raceway track here in Portland. During the summer, every like Tuesday night, people come out and get to ride hand cycles, which are like bikes kind of built upside down that you sit in a chair and you pedal them with your arms. Networking is all about trying to give people a social experience where they can connect with peers, with mentors, with business opportunities. So we've got a lot of different things that we do to try and affect the community.
Which brings us to our proposal. We would like to work with K2 and Fisher Communications to host a fundraiser walkathon to benefit the disabled community. Our projected date for this event will take place in the spring of 2014. With this event, Insight hopes to raise $40,000 profit through all aspects of our walkathon. As far as logistics, we are currently working with the City of Portland to choose a route for our walkathon. As of right now, we are searching for locations around Chapman, Lonsdale, and Strunk parks within the Portland area. Our plan is that we will have 2 separate start times, one for those community members that would like to run, and then a second start time for those who would like to walk. Our expectations are that around 2,000 participants will sign up. The initial registration fee is held at $5 along with the encouraged fundraising for individuals and teams. There will be several different incentives given out after each individual or team has reached a certain dollar amount that they have raised. A lot of volunteer work is required to help us function for our event. We invite 100 to 200 volunteers to help partake in our walkathon, which their duties will include setup and cleanup volunteers. They will be in charge of setting up prior to the event and taking down the event at the end. All teams are required to set up and take down their individual concession stands. Registration and treasurer volunteers. These volunteers will create registration forms and make all participant registers, check out, manage registration during event, and handle all finances. Our management, with the incentive stand, distribute t-shirts, keychains, lanyards, hats, etc. Parking will be to direct participants to approach parking lots and drop-off areas and provide directions as necessary. We will also have managed information booths that will be ran by volunteers that will provide information about Insight, our sponsors, and the programs in which the donation will be used. Course responsibilities will be directing participants along the course and maintain snacks and drinks along the course to hand to our participants that are running or walking throughout our walkathon. They will also contribute ribbons at the finish line. 5 to 8 CPR and certified volunteers on the home base and on the course at all times. And our concessions will provide food, help teams set up, find appropriate locations to their concession stands, along with our entertainment volunteers that will handle all of our music, dancing, and face painting.